The Effects of Snapchat and Instagram on American Teenagers by me, John Schumacher. So social media has grown in popularity over the past few years. Social media is the interactive platforms on modern technology used to spread information and communicate with others. It became popular as technology such as the smartphone developed, and it also became popular because it's an easy way to socialize. Some examples of social media platforms are Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram, WhatsApp, and Pinterest. Among the biggest users of social media platforms are teenagers. Almost everywhere you go in today's world, teenagers are always wrapped up in their phones, whether it's taking photos, liking posts, or texting, or more. And this has drastically increased in American teenagers over the past few years, as Felix Richter, a data journalist, says. Social media usage among American teenagers has drastically increased between 2012 and 2018. A survey conducted in the US earlier this year showed that 70% of teenagers check social media several times a day, up from just 34% in 2012. So this quote states the importance and relevancy of social media in the modern day. Social media and technology are prominent themes within the stimulus materials, specifically in Social Media and Movement Ideas by Edward Kessler, which specifically focuses on social media and its impact on humans socially. A quote from this article says, "Social media sites have grown exponentially in the last 5 years, and control has moved from website owners to website users. This means that social media is not just a communication tool, it is also a connection tool." This quote really inspired me in the making of my argument by showing me the power that people have on social media. And through this quote, I began to dive into the impact of social media, which leads into my research question, which is, does Snapchat and Instagram affect decision-making, lower self-esteem, and promote addiction among American teenagers? Snapchat and Instagram have emerged as two of the most popular social media platforms. Instagram allows users to follow other users and post photos, and Snapchat allows users to send photos and videos to other users. These have especially become popular among American teenagers. These social media platforms give teens freedom and exposure to an entire virtual world. It gives them the freedom to socialize with strangers, the freedom to get away with things they would normally not do in person, and exposure to new and dangerous things. And with this freedom and exposure, Snapchat and Instagram can affect American teens negatively. So these two graphs show the popularity of Instagram and Snapchat in US teens. The graph on the left from Statista shows the popularity of Snapchat and Instagram as of fall 2018, with Snapchat and Instagram being the two most favorite. The graph on the right also shows how Snapchat and Instagram are the two most favorite, but it also does show the monthly usage of these two apps, with 81% of US teens using Snapchat monthly and 79% of US teens using Instagram monthly. So I am arguing that Snapchat and Instagram can result in addiction, lowering self-esteem, affecting decision-making, and ultimately altering mental health negatively in American teenagers. This is based off their features, the things they promote, and the qualities of teens as they develop. So teens can become addicted to social media, affecting their health like sleep patterns and social connection. As Shepherd's Hill Academy says, while many teenagers engage in social media, teens who are addicted to social media see a negative impact on their real-life relationships and responsibilities. Self-esteem. Some features of Snapchat and Instagram can give teens exposure to people who may be more fortunate than them, whether it's looks, wealth, fame, or socially. Here's a quote from Dennis Hung saying, looking at carefully filtered pictures of other teens and tweens can also lead to body consciousness and eating disorders, fear of missing out, and bullying. This all comes at a time when many young people are particularly vulnerable to feelings of negative mental health and low self-esteem. Here's also a quote from Asina O'Neill, a former YouTube and Instagram model who quit social media because of the negative impacts on her life. "It was me. I was being discipled. I was sick and I needed serious help. But of course I didn't know it at the time. At the time I thought more money, more of these friends, being thinner, that would solve this eternal misery." Instagram and Snapchat can also affect decision-making in American teenagers. The ability to remain anonymous on social media can give teenagers freedom to dangers with little consequences, like cyberbullying, pornography, sexting, and more. Teens often do not know better because their frontal lobe, the area of the brain that makes decisions, is not fully developed. With the underdevelopment of the frontal lobe, teens, as Nasir Ghaemi says, have the best of both worlds, the bodies of adults with childlike brains. And all of these factors contribute to the idea that Snapchat and Instagram can affect American teenagers' health negatively. And changes must be made in the future so we can protect American teenagers and their futures. Now, this graph from economist.com shows how all social media platforms can affect certain areas of teenage mental health. As you can see, Snapchat and Instagram are particularly bad in sleep, bullying, the fear of missing out, body image, anxiety, depression, and loneliness, all factors that will negatively impact the health of teenagers. One solution is to keep track of and limit time used on social media. Limiting time uses on social media can solve many problems that can grate teens. It gives them an opportunity to unplug from the world and relax. Here's a quote from Dr. Mark Winwood, Director of Psychological Services at AXA PPP Healthcare. Taking a social media holiday can be an incredibly refreshing experience. It gives you time to enjoy life in the here and now instead of analyzing what others are seemingly doing. It has never been easier for us to stay connected with one another, to receive updates on what each of our friends is doing, but it's easy to forget this is not always a healthy or desirable option. Now, this has already been begun with some apps like OffTime, which shuts down apps when commanded, auto-responds to messages, and identifies patterns of what apps are used the most. This is a great start, but if Snapchat and Instagram put built-in timers for certain age groups and require breaks, this would be also a great solution. Some limitations are that teens will be resistant to do so or find loopholes in the system, and social media has also been built into our culture, and it may be hard to break the habit of going on our cell phones so much. In addition to limiting phone usage, face-to-face conversation can fix many of the issues of social media. Some of the pros is that it can build strong connections, you receive instant feedback, and does not contain the downfalls of smartphones. Here's a quote from Glenn Stock, who has a degree in computer science. Face-to-face conversations provide the ability to get to know one another in a way that cannot be achieved remotely. Communication via letters, text, or email is not as effective as face-to-face conversation because the sentiment under the words cannot be felt. Some of the cons that teens will again be resistant to put down their phones. So if we promoted solution 1 to a greater context, this would help this solution. In conclusion, Snapchat and Instagram must promote the mental health and well-being of teenagers so their happiness, futures can potentially lives be protected. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Let's see, what information did you think you needed at the beginning but weren't able to locate? And how did you go about trying to find that information?
It was difficult locating some different social media platforms that were negatively impacting teenagers, such as Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, WhatsApp, because Snapchat and Instagram are the two most popular social media platforms among American teenagers. And I really want to include other social media platforms, but I couldn't find information on that.
Okay. And then as a follow-up, you certainly found a wide range of perspectives. How did you use the conclusions and the questions asked by your authors in order to sort of form your own opinion in the end? Did you find that your perspective was altered by reading the evidence, or did you pretty much just find authors that agreed with you?
I found a wide range of evidence, some saying that social media is beneficial to teens, making them happy, while others saying that it makes them depressed. But I felt like that the negative impacts on teenagers in terms of social media outweighed the pros in a greater context. So I leaned towards that.
Okay, terrific, thank you.